Oh, Steven always seems to go on vacation when there's huge breaking news. What's going on, everybody? Just your opinion, man. Steven Langford is in San Diego. I remember him going to Arizona when Devontae Adams got traded to the Raiders. Dude really needs to put his life on hold and devote more time to this podcast. But he'll probably make some time to hop on here for about 5 minutes to give his thoughts on the big news of the day. Chris Paul gets traded to the Golden State Warriors. Jordan Poole is going to the Washington Wizards. And I'm still in shock it happened. To help me talk about this crazy ass trade, he helped me out earlier this year when the Warriors were about to go to the playoffs. We previewed the Kings series. Joining me now is Alexander Scott. What's going on, Scott?
Not much, man. How are you?
Uh, I'm good. I'm still kind of coming down from the craziness of today. We were not prepared for this to happen. At KMBR, everyone was ready to talk about the Giants winning 10 in a row, and then that did not become the story today because they got their ass kicked today 10-0. Um, but then right before the game started, we got the news that the Warriors are trading Jordan Poole to Washington for Chris Paul. So the terms of the deal are Jordan Poole, a protected first round pick in 2030, a second rounder in 2027, and Ryan Rollins, who was the Warriors' second round pick 2 years ago, or a year ago, actually, to the Wizards, all for Chris Paul. So I have my thoughts on this trade. We'll get Stevens later, and if we Stevens a maybe actually. He was flying to San Diego, got a little delayed, and we'll see if he can hop on here. But if he does not join us, I'll read his comments. He texted me about what he thinks about the trade. But Alex, I ask you, sir, when you saw the news today from Adrian Wojnarowski, what did you think about Chris Paul being traded to the Warriors?
It's a shock. I still can't believe it. I mean, you think about it, it's just like, of all the people over the years, like I never thought I'd see him in a Warrior uniform. It just didn't seem like that would ever be the case. And it's just like, all right, well, you make this move right now, and the salaries kind of match up there with Poole, and you know we looking at this, you knew that somebody was going to be gone, you know what I mean, because of just the
Well, who? Well,
fun.
you are you talking about Poole and Kaminga?
I was saying more, maybe more Poole, Draymond, at that point, that somebody had to, somebody was going to be on their way out of the facility, because
Because of the punch?
yeah, I mean, and just it just didn't nothing just added up correctly for them to start the year, get it all going, and Poole having a down year. And it sucks that this kid's, he's 24 years old. He's got a lot of dynamic ability, but had a down year, just really lost a lot of what made him like great in 2022. Just it was not there from the get-go in 2023 season. So I mean, now he gets to go to Washington to get a chance to start, put up 25 plus shots a game. I don't know what Washington's going to do. They've been searching for a long time, and now the Warriors, they get a point guard who can handle the ball, but he's 38 years old and he has a very, you know, bad track record of getting hurt and not staying healthy. And this being the first move of the Mike Dunleavy era, you know, kind of hold your breath a little bit, but it's happened. You know what I mean? We can't change it now.
So my initial reaction was this is fake, and then I saw that it was verified from Adrian Wojnarowski's actual account. I was like, this is shocking. I was not prepared for it whatsoever. We heard rumors earlier in the week since the Bradley Beal trade, and we'll talk about that one too, that the Warriors were considering a trade for Chris Paul, and we heard the Clippers were involved, his old team, and it all just didn't make sense to me for the Warriors. We'll get to his whole the whole warrior mentality as far as a fan of how we view Chris Paul. But yeah, I thought it just wasn't a fit, and it's going to be interesting. He better be coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So we had Mark Spears on today with Tolbert and Copes, and Mark Spears, he likes to be friends with the players, and he's a great reporter too. But I'm sure he got this information from Chris Paul, where he said he's going to start, and my reaction is, no, he's not. Like, I'm sure that's Chris Paul's initial reaction, but Steve Kerr, the man that made Andre Iguodala and David Lee and a lot of former All Stars come off the bench, Chris Paul is not going to be starting for the Warriors. There's no scenario where that makes sense.
No.
So what are you going to do? You're going to have Kevon Looney come off the bench and have Draymond Green play the five every night? No.
Nope.
This whole move is to have a better option with their second scoring unit. So, and it's, there's something up with Jordan Poole where he just does not focus in when he comes off the bench and he's better just starting. And that's the case last season when uh was it Steph that was hurt? Yeah, it was Steph that was
Yep.
hurt that went into the playoffs. So then Jordan Poole started games and Steph came off the bench and they were electric. They were amazing. At one point that probably was prisoner of the moment, but I said that their offense clicks a little better with Jordan Poole in the lineup than it does with Kevin Durant. Now, in hindsight, that was short lived. That was just against the then depleted Denver Nuggets. In a year now, they're, world champions. But as far as Jordan Poole and everything, he regressed enough to trade him away. I don't know about that. So, and it's, Mike Dunleavy earlier in the week, he gets introduced. It's his first press conference. Joe Lacob's by his side. And I thought it was going to be pretty clear. They asked him, what are the future holds for Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga? And right off the bat, Dunleavy goes, well, we plan on Jordan Poole being here for the next 4 years. We signed him to a contract. So that, to me, and again, this is, press conference stuff. It goes back to Steve Kerr saying that Andre Iguodala is not starting over Andrew Bogut. Like, coaches and GMs lie all the time. So we should never read too much into sayings in press conferences because it could change that quickly. But Mike Dunleavy said that they signed Jordan Poole to a contract last season and they expect him to be here for the next 4 seasons. And then he kind of didn't really go into detail about what Jonathan Kuminga's future is going to be. He was like, well, he's a great player. We got to find a role for him. And to me, that seemed like the signal for them wanting to trade Jonathan Kuminga. But when I saw the notification today, I was shocked. Just because, like you said, Alex, Chris Paul is 38 years old. He is declining. He was not a factor in these playoffs. He was hurt. He was not even a factor in the Mavericks series a year ago. So, yeah, to me, this is just to add depth to the bench. And it's also to get away from a really bad contract. And it's more of the Warriors just kind of saving their ass when they make a bad move. Like, during the season, they traded James Wiseman for Gary Payton. And the move that, they should have made from the get-go
Right,
last
exactly.
offseason.
Shouldn't have had been. They should have just, hey, pay him the money. You're paying him basically anyways. You know what I mean? So why even think about why even think about letting him walk in the first place? Could have just had him there. Would have been, everybody would have been excited. But I don't know what the tax implications of that move would have been. It might have been a minimal. It's not my money. It's not my money to, be playing around with. So I don't know. So, I mean, that's the thing. If they would have just kept him from the get-go and not even made that move, then okay, well, you still have him. Do we still know what Wiseman was going to be? Was he going to keep playing? I don't know if he was going to, see more minutes, even if Gary Payton II was going to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's my point, Alex, is that these are a lot of moves that seem to admit to Warriors fans that we fucked up. So this is again, a year ago, right before the season, Jordan Poole signs that contract, and it was pretty clear that they were choosing Jordan Poole over Draymond Green. Now a year later, they're saying we fucked up. We are now going to choose Draymond Green over Jordan Poole. That's what this move signals to me is they can lose Draymond. Every press conference you see, and I know I just said that press conferences people lie, but it seems pretty clear that they're hell bent on Draymond Green coming back.
This is
And
different.
I,
Yeah, this one's different. This is different. You know what I mean? This is one of your guys that's, you know, been there, you know, you drafted him, all these, you know, he's a part of the he's a part of the franchise. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's going to
well, yeah,
line
he's
up.
he's
Yeah.
he's won four
Yeah, exactly.
championships. So they made the move. Yeah, and I go back and forth on it because I'm not a really big Chris Paul fan. I never have been. I mean, I was when he was on the New Orleans Hornets. Once upon a time with his, when he first came out, I thought he was a great player. He was exciting, and then he became public enemy number one when he went to the Clippers, and it was, him, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and they were a thorn in the Warriors' side. They played in that playoff series when they were going through their shit with Donald Sterling, and he always was just kind of, like not like there's not really memorable moments of Chris Paul doing anything to the Warriors, but he was just kind of a pain in the ass. Um, you know, there really extends this whole thing is weird because earlier this year, or I'm sorry, I'll get to that in a second, but early in Steph Curry's career, Chris Paul was kind of a mentor to him, and they were really tight. They were doing the State Farm commercials together, like it was Cliff Paul and I guess Stephen Curry. I forget what the other
Yeah.
character's name was,
Yeah.
but he was a part of that. And then when Steph grew as a player and became a superstar that he is today, the best shooter of all time, I think there was a part of Chris Paul that was kind of jealous or kind of had some animosity towards Steph Curry. Like they're not as close as they used to be. I don't know that for sure, but every time we see them now, it's not like it was back in the day when Steph was really young. Like like I said, Chris Paul took him under his wing, and then we saw Steph kind of break his ankles back in 2014, and then Chris Paul hits him with the shimmy when he was with the Rockets, and that's when Chris Paul was really annoying, was when he was with the Rockets. Then earlier this year, like I said, there's a moment where Steph Curry talks trash to Chris Paul, saying, "This isn't 2014 anymore, man." And then they asked Chris Paul about it in the post game in the locker room, and he was like, "I don't know what that means." You know what it means, Chris? It means you're old.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. He said
Yeah.
you had your time, and I took it from you back in 2014. That's what he's saying. And the reality is, Chris Paul is old, and is he a better option than Jordan Poole? Probably, yeah. He probably is more like he's a Hall of Fame player. He's more consistent. He's going to give you scoring off the bench. And that's the key. This cannot be Chris Paul in the starting lineup. And I don't think they will do that. Anyone that thinks that, I think you're delusional. I think that it's going to be Chris Paul is Steph Curry's backup. And does that make them a better team than the Nuggets, than the Suns, than even the Grizzlies making their move with Marcus Smart? Not in my opinion, no. They have more moves to make. And the first one that needs to be done is signing Draymond Green now that he's officially opted out of his contract. So those are all my takes of it. Like, I don't love it. Initially, I hated it when I saw this morning. I don't hate it anymore. It does make sense just to get rid of the contract, and you are going to have a veteran scorer off the bench. But I don't know. It also kind of reeks of a Joe Lacob move. And I don't mean that to be negative, but this doesn't seem like something Bob Myers would do. This is Mike Dunleavy's first week on the job, and Joe Lacob telling him we got to make this move. This is kind of reminiscent of D'Angelo Russell being part of the Kevin Durant trade, where it just doesn't really fit. It's just another name. It goes back to what Joe Lacob says in every press conference: we're going to win. We're going to have 4 All-Stars. We're going to do we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I hope that Steve's on board with this. You would assume that they're making this move with Steph Curry's blessing, because they want to capitalize on the remaining years he has with the Warriors. But it just seems weird to me. It just seems weird. Like, Alex, do you agree? Like, if you had to like put like most hated players during the Warriors run, you probably go LeBron, obviously, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and probably Chris Paul.
Yeah, it's right up there. I mean, like, yeah, it shifts based off of just kind of like, you know, things that have happened. I mean, obviously LeBron is up he's up there, just based off of the finals, the recent, recency with the this last playoff series, even not even so much that, more so the finals. And you look at Westbrook and those battles that they had against the Thunder, and then it gets to those two in Houston. you know, Paul and Harden were thorns in the side. There was a moment where it was a little shaky, where it seemed like the Warriors were gonna lose, but then Houston misses all those threes in Houston, and
27 threes in a row.
it's nuts. And it's like, okay, well, we can put this to bed. We can get these guys out of here.
Yeah.
But it's
Like,
like you never thought this would happen. You talk about this too. You ever think that Richard Sherman would have ever been in a 49ers uniform? That's like, you look at that and you're like, wow, there's no way. There's no way this is gonna work. It kind of worked, you know what I mean? But that initial shock of it, you're like, really? This
well,
guy?
well, I never thought that that was a weird move. I just thought it was weird for you guys, the Niner fans, because you hate him so much.
Right. But again, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, this guy?
Yeah, no,
Really?
I get that. As long as it works, basketball wise. I mean, they're gonna have a lot of personalities again.
Yeah.
Like media day is gonna be crazy with Chris Paul, the bench player, being a part of the Warriors now. Like it's gonna be a show again. But like I said, I don't know if it's going to translate to being the best team in the West. I still feel there's got to be more moves to be made. Um,
This just can't be it. Yeah, this just can't be it. I mean, we're on. This is just draft. This is draft day.
yeah,
Free agency hasn't really started yet. None of that. That hasn't started. So there's still enough days in the summer. You know what I mean? Until things get started, get underway.
yeah. As far as Jordan Poole, he's now going to go to Washington, and he's going to be the guy because they are rebuilding, and he's going to get what he wants. I think also this move was made because Jordan Poole was public about his usage. Like there was the game where the Warriors were down 3-1 to the Lakers, and he made some comment about how he's not getting his minutes. And I told Steven here on the podcast that it's not time for that right now. It's not time for this bullshit. Like I know Steve wasn't trying to directly make reference to Jonathan Kuminga and Jordan Poole in that podcast with Draymond Green, but I can see his frustration. Like it's the same thing with Patrick McCaw and all these guys are like, how come I'm not getting my minutes? Because you're not Steph Curry, because you're not Klay Thompson, because you're not Draymond Green, because you're not Kevin Durant, because you're not Andrew Wiggins. Stop. Stop. If you want to be a part of this thing, then shut up. Like this is really like that pissed me off. I think that was a bigger reason of why Jordan Poole was traded today, more than the punch. I do think the punch had played a part. It's
But it's not the
crazy.
overriding. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah, yeah.
Like to me, I was even before the punch. I told you this, and I told Steven this. I was expecting this to be Draymond Green's last season. All the indications were that that was going to be it. That Draymond was going to be the one left out in the cold when it came down to giving contracts to Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole. And Draymond did not get his contract last year. And it seemed pretty clear at the time that Jordan Poole was going to be chosen over him. Was that the reason that Draymond Green punched him? I'm sure it was some trash talk, and I'm sure it was something that alluded to that made Draymond Green that angry. And then they never recovered from that. Draymond Green has made it be known in every media appearance he does that they would have gone on to play in the Western Conference Finals if he does not punch Jordan Poole. And it was pretty clear in the playoffs, too, that Jordan Poole had not forgiven him. There's that shot of Draymond trying to tell him something, and Jordan is not having any of it. And then Steph Curry had to come over and be like, all right, you got to listen to him. He's a veteran on this team. You got to show some respect. So maybe it was just the fact that Steph was the one saying we need Draymond around, and this guy's not getting over it, and this guy's not getting better, and we can't get through to Jordan Poole. So now it's time to move on. And yeah, he looked awful in the playoffs. He did. In that Lakers series, he was all over the place, just falling, just making ridiculous shots. Was it enough to trade him? I don't know. Like I'm still in the school of thought, the same thing of, like the Raiders did all their unnecessary rebuilds of, can't you just, you know, draft these guys and make them grow as players and try to develop them? And it's hard to say when you're a fan or you're a analyst and you're not there every day. Steve knows what he's doing. I do not question him whatsoever. So to me, if he feels like they've run their course with Jordan Poole, then it was time to move on. Same thing with James Wiseman. We'll see about Jonathan Kuminga. Do they really want to get rid of all their young talent right now? I don't know. I was pretty sure that Jordan Poole was going to stay on this team, and from Mike Dunleavy's comments, but then today it all changed. So, um, yeah, I don't know, Alex. I mean, it seems to me like everyone else moved on from the punch. Like initially, everybody was mad and took Jordan Poole's side, and then as time went on, and Draymond tried to make amends and tried to, teach this young, player, he was not receptive to it, and he was not getting better this season, and it was just time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this too. It's in a practice situation. Steve probably said something to, Steve probably said something like, "Hey, we need you to do this," and he didn't want to hear it because he got paid. You know what I mean? He's an NBA champion. He was like, I don't need to, what do I need to hear this crap for? You know what I mean? I don't need to hear this. I'm winning. I'm balling. Shit, come on. And then you can see, Draymond being, taking the side of Steve, even though they've had their, you know, back and forths over the years. You
Mm-hmm.
know that. But at that point, you're just like, okay, we're trying to win. We're trying to get back. We're trying to go back to back with these guys. You know what I mean? It's not easy. Heck, it wasn't even easy for them to get there. Last year. It's like, oh my god, what the hell? You know what I mean? This isn't just like, oh, we're gonna steamroll through this. We're gonna waltz on into the NBA Finals. You know what I mean? This is a tough test. This is a grind. You know what I mean? That's why this one, that last championship, is going to be like, people are going to be like, all right, yeah, that was worth it. That was that was worth all the craziness. Hey, yeah, we got back. But yeah, if they knew that they're like, okay, we're done. This is it. We've reached the point with this guy, and he just doesn't want to like rise above like what happened and say, okay, maybe I be, okay, yeah, you don't want it to resort to a physical, violence or whatever happened. But in that moment, you have to be humbled and you have to say, okay, look, this happened. Maybe I have some blame on this, and maybe I need to take a look at myself in the mirror and say, maybe I need to do something better. Maybe I need to be a better teammate. Maybe I need to not, say, basically tell my coach to go fuck off and just say, nah, I don't care. I don't care about what I'm doing. Maybe it's time, hey, just take that chance, listen to what's going on, step back and say, okay, this has happened. I can't change anything that's happened about this. I have to get up. I got to move forward with it. Man, he's 24 years old. You know what I mean? I, Maybe he
I do know
hasn't.
what you mean, A. Scott.
Well, I know at 24 I wasn't thinking that way. You know what I mean? I know
I
I'd
do know
probably
what you
feel the
mean.
same way. Yeah, I'd feel the same exact way. I'd be a little bit prickly, be a little bit ticked off about something like that. Come on.
Yeah. Um. So, do you think this move pretty much signals that Draymond Green is going to come back as a Warrior?
I would think so. I mean, come on now. Like that was the biggest elephant in the room, and it's like it's gone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like for him, what do you really want to just like up and leave? You know what I mean? Okay, you don't know what's going to be on the other side. The other, where the grass is, if the grass is greener on the other side. You know what you have here, and what if you want to look for, a contract that lines up with, your teammate and lines up with that timeline, there's no more two timelines, it's only one timeline now,
Yeah.
then it makes the most sense to stay in Golden State.
No, I mean I think that's what their goal is, and it was pretty clear from the moment that the news came out that Draymond Green was declining his option, that immediately there was a statement from Rich Paul saying that we're going to explore all options and try to get something done in Golden State. And but then Draymond's seen in the last Tango in Paris with LeBron, and just a weird thing to have a little rendezvous with LeBron in London or in
France.
France, but whatever. Um, yeah, I do think that not only was this move made to get rid of the tension in the locker room, but it was also made to clear some salary cap space. And they probably looked at the contract and was like, we made a mistake, and we're going to now give Draymond this money. Now it depends on what Draymond gets. I'm thinking like a 3-year deal, but yeah, this it seems to me like things definitely shifted where everyone is on Draymond's side now. Even during the Sacramento series where he stomped on Sabonis and wanted to take on the whole crowd, even though Steve could not manage to get Draymond Green down from the table or tell him what to do, there seems to be something about Draymond Green that Steph Curry loves, that Joe Lacob loves, that Steve Kerr hates at times, but really loves when they're winning championships. So, and I think Steve Kerr going on Draymond's podcast is telling that I mean, like, it's pretty clear. They all say in their press conferences he's integral to this whole thing. They're not a championship team without him. And I don't know what Draymond Green would be like on another team. Is his
Exactly.
role.
That there's not a role like if he's more important to the Warriors than he would be to anybody else around the league. You know what I mean? There's a role that he fits that's here, for the Warriors. If you go around and you look across the roster or of any of the teams, I don't know if it translates as succinctly as it does with the Warriors.
No, I agree. I don't know what his role would be. I mean, like, it'd probably be the same thing with the Lakers, but they need a lot more scoring on that team. He'd be perfect on the Kings, but apparently the Kings don't have the money to do that. Um, so yeah, I do believe that Draymond Green will be coming back to the Warriors. This is just a formality with the declining of the option. Um, and really, it wasn't that shock. I mean, like, everyone, kind of runs with breaking news these days, where you know something that happens that we all were expecting it, and okay, Draymond is declining his option. He's going to be a free agent. A lot of guys are declining their options right now, and we'll see what happens. But I pretty much, I think it's probably 90% that Draymond Green's going to come back to be a Warrior, and I think this move kind of signaled that today. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens next week with that. But going back to Mike Dunleavy's press conference real quick, Alex, what do you think of him being introduced? Now he handled everything.
I mean, you're in the position to be groomed for this. You kind of knew that he was going to be announced as the guy. I know, for me, it's kind of hard to see him around. You know what I mean? When he first came back, it was just like, oh man, this seeing him just kind of like, oh, just brings up the like some of the bad memories,
Yeah,
and
but but
but it's
but
just like
but
I
like
get
but like
you
I
got to
was
move
telling
on.
Steven, you can't really hold that against him. Like, it's totally different. Him as a player to him as a
Right.
general
Yeah,
manager, as an
no, I got you.
executive.
I get you. I get you 100%. But it's just like, you look at it and you're just like, okay, all right, I gotta, you gotta separate, you still have to separate it. It's a different time, different regime, different ownership, different mentality. The whole thing is completely different, you know. But for the first week of it, you get thrown into the fire like this. I mean, you gotta, you gotta handle it. He's a coach. His dad was a coach. He played. He knows what's going on. He knows he's been through the league. He's been through mostly every role in a organization across the NBA. So he knows what's going on. Like not like higher, but player, scout,
Yeah,
GM,
yeah,
now all that stuff.
yeah. So I thought he handled it pretty well. I thought that he said all the right things. Obviously, he lied to the media about Jordan
Well, you
Poole,
gotta play
but
poke. He's got to play
yeah,
poker a little bit. He can't. I mean, this is the guy who he tapped like when he was a scout or when he was like looking around. He's like, oh, this guy's gonna be good. This guy's gonna be good. Hey,
yeah. And now he's currently, working the draft room, and the Warriors made their first round selection tonight. They drafted. Let me get this guy's name right. You know it by chance, Alex?
Pozimski,
Yeah, but Podzinski. But what's his first name? The Warriors' new.
Braden.
Yeah, yeah, out of Santa Clara.
Yeah,
God, we really prepared for this podcast.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but he's a shooting guard, so that makes you wonder about Clay and that long-term future and everything. But I think they're just building for depth right now. Guys are coming off the bench, and that's what these guys got to realize too. Like if all these draft picks that they made over throughout the years, Jordan Poole's, the Patrick McCaws, all these guys, your role is to be there until these guys leave. Steph Curry, Clay Thompson, all the faces of the franchise. Um, so yeah, I don't know what I really don't know anything about him. But hopefully he adds a lot of scoring to the second unit. So there's a lot of moves that have been made this week, Alex. The first one that was crazy was Bradley Beal getting traded to the Phoenix Suns last Sunday. And reportedly it was down to either the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns. They were going to trade Tyler Hero and for the Bradley Beal trade to Miami, but I didn't think that was going to make sense. I was telling Steven a week ago that I don't think that was a good move, just because I see kind of Bradley Beal as being kind of a Jimmy Butler type, not a great 3-point shooter, but just a great all around scorer. Um, and I honestly wanted Damian Lillard to be in Phoenix over Bradley Beal. I thought that'd be more of a electric offense, and I think it's going to be a good move for the Phoenix Suns. But I don't know. It kills their depth. It kills their bench. Landry Shamet goes in the trade. Um, so yeah, I think that's a good move. I don't think it's a great move. I don't think that I saw that, and my initial reaction was, okay, you
Eh,
have three guys that could score 30 points, and I think Devin Booker now will play the point. But defensively, I don't know how they're going to be, and I still think the Nuggets are a better team overall in the West with the Suns making that move.
Yeah, I mean, you look at one of the big things that was the issue for Denver was them just getting healthy. Now they've got healthy, right now everybody's health. For them, everybody's healthy, and you could see that when they played together, it was a cohesive team. You know what I mean? And they had the depth, they had all the things that you needed to get it done to win an NBA championship, and then they're still young. It's not like these guys are old. They're still just right there starting out, getting things started. So they, again, it's another team in the West that now has the championship like monkey off their back. They got it done. They have experience now. They're not like the deer in the headlights, young nuggets that don't know what the heck's going on. Now they've won a championship together. They've got that experience. You look at Phoenix, like you were saying, they dynamically, offensively, yeah, it's nice. It's good. Is DeAndre Ayton still like, is he like fully engaged in what's going on? Is he going to be fully engaged with Frank Vogel down there? I don't know. I mean, it didn't work with him and Monty Williams. That's clearly for sure. He not a fan of him. Neither on both sides. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, again, that was one of the big things with Phoenix before they made all the moves was their depth. They had a bench that was deep. They could throw different guys out there, different looks, and now that's gone. But if you got guys scoring, 30 points or each potentially, it could shore up some things. But again, you know how it is. You need some of that bench scoring. You need somebody who can come off the bench who can just go get you a bucket. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah. No, they don't.
what something like what Livingston would do. He'd go get you he'd get you a bucket. He'd hit that mid range. He'd go boom, 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 and you'd be like, okay, we're good. We'll be all right.
Yeah. No, I think that's something that they're drastically going to lose now, and their owner Matt Ishbia wanted to make this move because they had high expectations trading for Kevin Durant, and it didn't pan out in the first year. But things take time to develop.
Right.
So we'll see how that move makes things for the Phoenix Suns and for the Western Conference. As far as other moves that were made, Marcus Smart got traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, and that was part of a three-way trade between the Boston Celtics, the Clippers, and the Wizards. Actually, a four-way trade. Initially, the reports were that Kristaps Porzingis was going to be traded from Washington to Boston for Malcolm Brogdon, who was going to go to the Clippers, and then Marquise Morris was going to the Wizards.
Yeah, I think it's I'm not sure about if it being a 4-team deal. I think it's still a I think it's a 3-team between Boston,
Yeah,
Memphis, and the Wizards.
but the Clippers are involved because Brogdon is going to the Clippers.
That might be something I'm not I don't know about that, like, hold on.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, yes. Malcolm Brogdon is going to the Clippers. So now you wonder about the Celtics, point guard depth. Like, I guess they have Derek White right now, or maybe they're trying to set something up to get Damian Lillard. That's another thing too, I guess, is that Damian Lillard, initially it sounded like he was pulling a DeAndre Hopkins, entertaining the idea of being on a different team. And then every year we go through this as is Dame finally leaving Portland? Is Dame finally leaving Portland? And this sounds like it's getting the most traction this offseason. But they just took Scoot Henderson tonight. That was the guy that was linked to Damian Lillard for the longest time, of a guy that Dame wanted. But he doesn't want to go through a whole young rebuild. He wants to win right now. And I don't know if the Trailblazers share his same philosophy. So, but then again, I hear reports that he doesn't want to go to Boston. So, it doesn't. There's no way this was going to happen. It's not feasible. I would have loved Damian Lillard to come to the Warriors, but then what do you? I mean, like, that sounds good on paper. He's an Oakland guy. He would finally get to play for the team that he grew up loving his whole life. But with Steph there, and I brought this up on a previous podcast, I'm sure Dame and Steph are fine friends, and he loves him. But if you ask Damian Lillard behind closed doors, he'd probably tell you, like, damn, that guy took my career. I was supposed to be the face of the franchise. I was supposed to play for the hometown team. And that's kind of how Isaiah Thomas feels about Michael Jordan, because he was the Chicago kid and he kind of took his team.
I got you.
But I'm not saying there's that kind of animosity.
Right.
There would be no fit, though. Like, what's going to happen is Kevon Looney, like the same thing with, like, is Chris Paul going to,
Yeah. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
it wouldn't work, but it would be,
Basketball wise, it would not
yeah.
work. No.
but it is a better option.
Yeah.
So that is something to look out for, is if Damian Lillard stays on the Portland Trailblazers. He's another guy that's rumored to be on the move. But as far as the four-way trade or whatever it was, Kristaps Porzingis going to the Celtics, I don't know if I love that, because I'm not a big Kristaps Porzingis fan. And I think that you're taking away Marcus Smart on that team. He was Defensive Player of the Year. What was it, last year? Yeah. And I just think that he's also got a great name for the Boston crowd, Marcus Smart. But now that's gone. And now he's basically going to be the fill-in guy for Ja Morant for 25 games. And then Ja Morant comes back, and it actually sounds a lot better than I initially thought. Like, so what? Marcus Smart's going to be just, Ja Morant's backup? Not the case. I guess when Ja Morant comes back, he'll be a better version of Dylan Brooks. So they'll play together. That makes Memphis better. I don't know how much better. Just all the moves that was made the last week, Alex, from Bradley Beal to Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies, to Malcolm Brogdon going to the Clippers, to the Spurs drafted Victor Wembanyama today, and the Warriors getting Chris Paul. How do you think things stack up right now? I know there's a lot of moves that still need to be made, but as of right now, do you think anyone has overthrown the Nuggets as far as who's the best team on paper in the West?
No.
So you still think the Nuggets are the best?
Yes. Yeah.
I do too, and that's
top to bottom. They're solid, man. They are They are a solid team. Like, you can't just, like, oh, we're gonna do all these. We got to
Yeah.
keep up. We got to keep up. We got to keep up. But it's like, they're on paper, or even just, like, not even on paper, just looking at what they did. They're solid from 1 to 5. They're a solid team. They
Yeah.
really are. You know, I mean, you look at the Memphis move. I mean, you get another defensive guy. You get the two defensive player of the years like together on the same team. Now for
Jaron Jackson
Boston,
and Marcus Smart.
yeah, for Boston, you lose some of that heart and toughness. You know what I mean? That he was their longest tenured player. He's gone, and then you bring in, a guy who's kind of soft. He was making a lot of money, and they still have to pay,
You talking
or
about you talk about Porzingis?
yes,
Okay.
still have to pay, you know, Brown and Tatum, or you're gonna have to get rid of one of them because they're both up for the supermax. So you
Yeah.
can't keep them both. You
Well,
can't, you know what I mean? Or if you want to pay the luxury tax, hey, by all means. Again, it's not my money, but I mean, hey, do what you got to do, man.
yeah. I I would agree with you, Alex. I don't think anyone made a significant move to the point where I'm like, well, the Nuggets are still not the best team in the West.
Not yet. There's not been a move yet, at least out west, like you're saying that has not happened yet, and I don't know if it's going to happen.
No, I mean we'll see. Kyrie Irving is still going to be a free agent. Like I said, Damian Lillard is still out there, possibly for a trade. But I guess there was a report the other day that Woj was saying that they shut down all calls that were coming in for Damian Lillard. They're not entertaining it right now, but that could change, obviously. And they're maybe just saying to teams, we haven't found what we're looking for yet. You haven't offered us the price that we want for Damian Lillard. But I'm with you, Alex. Like every year we go gaga over these moves, and I know that sounds hypocritical coming from Warriors fans because that was the thing every offseason was initially they were like the Nuggets. They built from within and they won the championship in 2015. And then they went all out after losing the finals and got Kevin Durant and never wanted to lose again. And then they got DeMarcus Cousins and it became a whole thing every year of, well, the Warriors are just building a super team. And in some aspects that was right, in some aspects that was wrong. But I always really have a lot of respect for teams that don't resort to that kind of thing. Like, did I want Kevin Durant initially on the Warriors? No. Like, if you asked me back then, I would have said no. We're fine without him. Then when they got him, I was like, all right, that's pretty nice. But as far as the Nuggets, they just needed to get better, and they did. They got Jamal Murray back healthy. They got Michael Porter Jr. back. Aaron Gordon was their big, transaction that they made a few years ago. But even that took some time. Um, Bruce Brown just declined his option. I know that Mike Malone did the whole thing at the parade saying like, "Hey, Brucey B's not going anywhere, guys. All right, we're running this shit back." And the reality is, he may not be coming back because he did so well in the finals that he may garner a contract that
Yeah.
is big time. So, we'll see about that. But as far as things in the West, just comparing everything, like the Warriors will do more things. They still need to address the center position because just having Kevon Looney as your lone big is not going to get it done, especially in this NBA now. Like, I know everyone says like everyone plays small ball, but you have these athletic centers now that can shoot. And if the Warriors were to get into a series with the Denver Nuggets, they do not have an option for Jokic at this point. Like I know
No.
last year they beat him in the playoffs, but like we
Different
said,
times.
they were
Just different
depleted.
time. Yeah.
Yes. So they need a guy that can bang up against Giannis or Anthony Davis or Joel Embiid. Like they need to find that guy, and maybe it happens this offseason, maybe it doesn't. But it's just weird right now. Like I don't know how to feel about this Warrior team. Like it's I don't know. Like did I did I come away today feeling like they got better slightly? But it's just such a weird fucking move for me to be like so excited about it because on equal parts, it's Chris Paul, it's Cliff Paul, the weird guy from the State Farm commercials. And like I said earlier, like I don't want to, hold something against somebody like Mike Dunleavy with his past as a player. Like, okay, so now Chris Paul plays for the Warriors, which is such a weird thing. Um, how is he gonna, every time Chris Paul goes to a new team, he always buys in 100%. So I'm not really gonna worry about that. But how is he going to be as a aging veteran realizing that he's not the man on this team? And he wasn't the man with the Rockets. He wasn't the man with the Suns, but he's really not the man on this team. Like this is going to be a change in his career. Like this probably is the last 2 years of your career. Like
Yeah,
when you
pretty
like
much.
you're playing until you're hitting 40. Like a lot of guys don't play till they're 45 or 50. Like that's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
No. No, no,
Chri-
no, no, no.
yeah, exactly. So Chris Paul is possibly finishing his career with the Warriors. And how is he going to take it that Steph Curry, the guy that he groomed, the guy that he mentored, is now the man, and now he has to take a back seat to him? I don't know how he feels about Steve Kerr. Like we all see that meme of him, like yeah, he's laughing, and then like he immediately just shuts it down, and that could be just in the heat of battle and everything. I can't wait to get Steve's response to that. Yeah, I don't think he's ever really addressed that either because I'm sure he's seen it. And he
Oh, he
probably,
has to. Oh, come
yeah.
on. Oh, he has to have seen it. Come on now. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
So it's all gonna be interesting. And Chris Paul is a big personality. How is he gonna be? If Draymond Green yells at him during a game because he's not in the right spot, how you think Chris Paul's gonna take that at this point in his career? Probably not. Um, but then again, is Draymond gonna do that? Most likely, yeah. Like he's not changing for anybody.
Right.
Um,
Come on now.
and does Clay kind of see this as kind of a thing against him? Like I don't think so. But then again, we all talk about how dreadful Clay was in that playoff series against the Lakers. And I would it's going to be very interesting to see if they just let this play out with his contract. Cuz I have not heard anything like the biggest rumor I guess that came out post series loss to the Lakers was they wanted to bring back Clay Thompson for a long-term deal, but they wanted him to take a pay cut. And I haven't heard anything since then. Prior to that, it was Clay Thompson wanting a max deal. So we'll see if they think that Clay is part of the future. Like it's if you would have told me last year at this time that they were prioritizing Draymond Green over Clay Thompson, I would have thought you're crazy. But it's starting to feel that way a little bit. And if you would have told me they're prioritizing Draymond Green over Jordan Poole, I thought you were crazy. They're definitely doing that now. Um,
Well, the thing about this too. It's that the Jordan Poole that you're talking about, or we people want to talk about. He's not. That's not him. That was not him this past year, and that's that happens. We in heck, I can speak for my. You've had high highs, low, ups, downs, whatever. You work through it. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised next year if he's a top scorer in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if you look at the list and he's scoring a bunch of points.
no, I
Would
don't
not be
doubt that.
surprised.
Jordan
Yeah.
Poole in
Yes.
Washington? Yeah,
Yes.
I don't doubt that at all.
So heck, like I said, he might just might be a change of scenery, but I understand it's like, wait a second. What's going on? What's going on here? This is kind of bizarre world right now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Jordan Poole moving on, like he'll be happy. He'll get his time and his minutes and his points. But what it really says is that not everyone's cut out for this Warriors culture. Not everybody's cut out for the strength in numbers thing. Like I think people like there's always Warriors Twitter out there that's like, oh, James Wiseman's averaging 20 points in Detroit now, and I'm sure people will look at Jordan Poole and he's scoring a lot in Washington, but that doesn't equate to wins. Like Detroit, what were they, the worst team in basketball last year?
It's pretty bad. Yep.
Yeah, and they got Monty Williams now, so there will be expectations, and they will want to develop as a team, but I mean, there's no expectations with the Wizards right now. They gutted their whole roster. They got some players now. They got Landry Shamet and whoever else came back in these trades, but Jordan Poole's the man now, and we'll see if he's ready for that. A lot of these guys are on the Warriors, throughout the years. Like I mentioned, Patrick McCall and all these guys, they wanted their playing time,
Now you
and
got it.
then they got it, and they didn't pan out. Or Patrick McCall joined the Raptors, and he never got that other opportunity. I think it's pretty clear. Like Steve Kerr is a laid back guy, and he's easygoing, and he's a great coach, a great interview, but he's also a hard ass. And there's an expectation when you play for the Golden State Warriors now that wasn't there before. So when you're playing with the likes of Steph Curry and all those Hall of Famers one day, that you're going to have to put your ego aside. That's why that clip on Draymond's podcast is so good because Steve is saying that that has to be the mentality of great teams. That's why the Heat are so successful. They haven't won a championship, but that's why they are so successful because they got dogs on that team and they got guys that are willing to push their ego aside and know what their role is. And Steve is not willing. Like that's the thing too. What else was pretty clear today in this trade was that they do not believe that they're going to regress. Like everyone, we ran a poll. We talked about this on Tolbert Copes the other day. Which team has the brightest future in the Bay Area going forward? Who would you say off the top of your head, Alex, between the Giants and the Niners and the Warriors? Just first gut reaction. Who do you say has the brightest future going forward?
Niners.
Why do you say that?
I just think that you look at all the positions, albeit besides quarterback, that they are stacked, loaded at every position. There are young players that they got good group of veterans in there as well to keep going forward.
Okay, but if you look at their
Just youth.
well, no. I'm talking about just let's say in the next 5 years, how many guys that are currently on this Niner team are still going to be there? So
Okay.
let's
Okay.
so okay, so Nick Bosa is going to get paid this offseason.
Yeah.
We all expect that. And to me, their window is closing. Like this is a topic for another day that we'll get into more when, me and Steven will talk about it, but as far as the Niners window, like they've been to the championship game the last 2 years. They really want to win this season. But each year that they don't, it's decreasing. And they lock these guys up. And as soon as they sign these multi year deals, then it doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. Like eventually they're going to have to pay a quarterback at some point, whether that's Brock Purdy, whether that's Trey Lance, whether that's Sam Darnold, whether that's Kirk Cousins, whoever it's going to be, that will mean that there's less money to go around. Eventually, they're going to have to pay Brandon Ayuk. And to me, that means the end for Debo Samuel. Because as soon as they got Christian McCaffrey, that means that the versatility of Debo Samuel is not needed because Christian McCaffrey is a better version than Debo Samuel. And I've said this before in the podcast, and I'll say it again. I don't think Debo Samuel is that good as a pure wide receiver. I think Brandon Ayuk is that much better, and he will be. I think just every year, everybody waits for him to break out. I think that all around, he's a better wide receiver than Debo Samuel is, and I think that the Niners will prioritize him over Debo. As far as guys like George Kittle, they'll get older. Fred Warner,
Trent Williams.
there,
Yeah.
yeah, Trent
Yeah.
Williams
He's
definitely.
old.
He,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
he's in his late 30s.
Yeah.
So there will come a day where the Niners are not able to spend any money and they'll have to get rid of some of these guys. And that's when their window will be gone. Is that happening anytime soon? No, within maybe 2, 3 years, and they have to start making some hard decisions on some guys, and they won't entirely blow it up. I do trust in Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to change things, but as far as what they have right now with their core, like they're still figuring out the quarterback position. Like we all say, like I do you believe there's a QB controversy right now, Alex?
No,
Who's the quarterback going into the season?
it's Purdy.
There you go. The real story is who's the backup quarterback.
Right.
And are Niner fans going to freak out that Trey Lance is the third string quarterback? I know Adam Schefter went on Pat McAfee's show yesterday and was saying the same things that I've always said, that they always wanted to draft Mac Jones, and then they got to change their heart. I don't think everybody got to change their heart. I don't think the head coach got to change their heart. I think at the end of the day, he still wanted Mac Jones. It was told otherwise. But as far as the Niners going forward, their window is getting shorter and smaller each year. So I would put them second, and I would put the Warriors third. And surprisingly, I can't believe I'm saying
Giants.
this. I think it's the San Francisco Giants. And this is maybe me being brainwashed by the KMBR crowd now.
No, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. No. I mean, it's been a look. The fact that they've got young guys to be excited about. I mean, come on. Bailey and Schmidt. Schmidt's taken a little bit of he's regressed a little bit, but Matos, man, it's like, all right, cool. This is
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I get you.
Hey,
I see where you're coming
I
from.
went to the game last night, and
Yeah.
they're exciting. I'm everyone's gonna say, "Oh, you're switching sides now because you're not going to the A's games anymore." No, it'll be a cold day in hell when I do that, guys. But The Giants are playing well. Now, do they play well today? No, they were
No.
terrible. But that was a day game coming off a great win. They won 10 in a row prior to last night. By the way, you're watching the game last night?
Yeah.
What a horrible call with the plate
Yeah.
interference. That is terrible. Like, I love Bob Melvin, and he was so on the right. Like, they just made that ruling based on what happened with Bruce Bochy the night before. Like, are we really going to do this every time now? Where, like, come on. Like, I'm not even a fan of reviewing baseball to begin with, but we're doing like this whole thing of we got to speed up the game. We got to
That
get the
slowed
games to
it.
be
Yeah, it
faster.
slows it
It
down,
slows
man.
it down even
Yeah.
more with these reviews.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit. We can't play baseball anymore. Like, that's not the Buster Posey rule. He was not guarding the plate to a point where he was going to cause violence. I'm talking about Gary Sanchez to Blake
Yeah.
Sable. That was ridiculous. And Bob Melvin should have been angry. I thought that was a dumb rule. And if that's what's going to happen in baseball now, that's another reason why fans will not watch, because that is a dumbass rule. You
I can't
agree?
see if you're I can't see if you're on your soapbox there. I can't see that. So
I usually get on my soapbox during
okay,
this
there you go.
podcast.
Yeah, yelling at the sky, yelling at the sky.
But my point is,
Ah!
old man yells at cloud.
Yeah!
But my point is, in saying all that,
Yeah.
is that the Warriors' move today was Joe Lacob telling the rest of the world, as he does in every press conference he does, we're gonna try to win. We're always gonna try to win. And that was told today. Like, we're not going through a rebuild with Steph Curry while we have him. No, sir. If we're signing Draymond Green, we're trying to win. They fully believe that this team could still win championships with what they have in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. And now they get a Hall of Fame player to come off the bench and help them. But I ask you, Alex, do you think those three guys can still win?
Yeah. I I still do.
Win a championship?
There are things
Like,
that have to be done, but I still think they can do it.
I do too.
I'm not gonna I can't really doubt them. You know what I mean? I can't say that because they lost this past season. But again, that wasn't not everybody was there, up to their full, you know, strength. I think not even like physically. I think maybe it's more of a mental thing. You know what I mean?
Well, that probably was the case of what Draymond was talking about with the
Right.
punch. I think that fucked up the whole season. But I mean, Steph Curry's still a great player. He gets injured, and maybe this will, help them in that regard with Steph being out. Chris Paul is then inserted. I do think they still have championship DNA. That never goes away.
Right.
They are so used to winning that when they lost to the Lakers this year, it's such a shock. Um, so I do think that they have the championship DNA to still get it done. It's just going to be a lot harder now. They're getting older, and their window is definitely the smallest out of the three teams. Um, they have great players, but are those players still what they used to be? Klay Thompson, I'm going to say no, and I love Klay, but it was brutal to watch him in the playoffs against the Lakers because his mentality the whole season bothered me. From him questioning himself to the four championships that he had to remind Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks that they have, it became just a whole insecurity thing to me. And I still hope that he has that Rocco in him, that passion, that anger, that confidence that he once had. I Steph Curry, I have no doubts about. He's going to be a great player till well in his 40s. Draymond Green is still at it. Is still a great defensive player. But I am surprised that the Warriors are going to make him a priority because I don't. It seemed to seem pretty clear. Like, I remember talking to Steven a year ago that Joe Lacob was on his a podcast with Tim Kawakami saying that they're going to have to make some hard decisions, and the indication seemed to be that it was Draymond, and they realized that they picked the wrong guy in Jordan Poole. There were so many times this year where they had Jordan Poole in the starting lineup, and I thought that was the future, and it's not. They're going to keep things the same. It's an oldie but a goodie. They're going to keep it the same with Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and Kavan, and Wiggins, and Chris Paul off the bench. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's been a crazy ass day from that news being I was the first one to notice it in the KBR studios. I saw it, I screamed it, and everybody was like, "You got you're fucking lying," and it's the truth. and I'm still in shock over it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the weirder moves because I think collectively Warriors fans are not excited about it. It's the first move I think they've had in a long time where they got a big profile name, and no one was really
It's just
happy
like,
about it.
eh, uh,
Well, like when they traded for D'Angelo Russell, it was coming off of the low of losing Kevin Durant.
right. And you knew well, at that point you didn't know what was in store for that year, but it was bad. It
Oh
was
yeah.
bad. It was bad.
Well,
It was awful.
we knew like I would say those times were worse than now. Like we knew that was going
Oh,
to be bad.
yeah, that was oh my gosh, talk about
Like
dreadful. Oh my gosh. I
like
man.
like that night the last game at Oracle, I was sad, but I also was kind of like I'm kind of glad I'm leaving because I was going to LA to work for NFL Network at that
Right.
time. Clay Thompson just tore his ACL. We knew that Kevin Durant tore his Achilles. He was not going to come back to the Warriors. Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin,
Uh, um, he's
misunderstood.
all right. Be nice to Bob. Because we're gonna
I'm
miss
sorry.
him.
I come on. You once it gets on a roll, I had to like, come on. I got to finish it, man.
You love doing the Bob impression. Um, but I knew there was gonna be some dark times after that, and it was a 15-win season. But also we
Oh,
Warriors were spoiled though. Like that was back to the Cohan days. Like we were used to
oh,
15-win seasons.
oof.
Yeah, but yeah,
Man.
Alex, like I think this was the first time where Warriors fans were scratching their heads, being like, "Huh, Chris Paul." Hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you right there, man. I'm like, yeah, really?
Yeah. And is there a part of you that wonders maybe they should have given more time to Jordan Poole? Or do you think that this whole thing of his attitude, his unwillingness to listen to Draymond, and his unwillingness to get over what happened was
That's
just
what.
too much?
Yeah, that's what it is, man.
Nah, that's
That's
sad.
It sucks. It sucks that that's what it is. I mean, you look at the end of the day, and you have to also, we talked about this before, about the cap, about the salary cap and the luxury
Yeah.
tax, and you couldn't, if they were to try to keep both of them, it would not have worked. It would have just been like tax on tax on tax, and that's not good.
Well
And the
done there.
fact that, like you
Racks on
said,
racks on racks.
yeah, with that too, but it's also like, oh gosh, you look at it and then you're like, and then you just see how, a year ago, how much of a dynamic player he was, how many he was hitting these half court heaves that were just like, oh gosh, he had some swagger to him. He was a little, kind of cocky. He had some sauce with it. It was just like, all right, cool. And then this happens, and it's just like, he just, like we were saying, he never recovered. He never trusted Draymond again. It was like, that's it. Once that happened, boom, it's over. I'm
Yeah.
done. We're done. We can't even, you know, even recover from it. We can't even just like get back to being normal. You know what I mean? He's just in this. It's just something happened.
Yeah.
Some switch got shift and he or clicked and he just was like not good. He clicked it off.
Well, I think it's possible for teammates to not get along and still be successful. There's been many
Oh
instances
yeah, that's happened. Yeah,
yeah, where like I mean you love NFL films.
yeah.
What about my guy Mercury Morris and who was the big dude, the offensive lineman for the Dolphins that
Oh,
threw his boombox outside the window?
Kuchen.
Yeah,
No. Yeah,
Bob
yeah.
Bob
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 Kuchen. Yeah,
Bob Kuchenberg.
yeah,
They did not like each other, and they found a way to get through that and go on to be the perfect win season for the Miami Dolphins. And won back-to-back championships.
yeah.
There's been many cases. Like you ask players, and they're like, oh, "I hated that guy, but I went to war with him," and it doesn't seem like Jordan Poole could have got over that. Again, I'm not saying that was the reason that they traded him. I think there's a lot of reasons they traded him today. I think it was they were presented an opportunity to get out of that contract, and they realized that maybe this guy is not who we thought he was. Now, do you wonder about the future of Jonathan Kaminga now? Like, do you think that this move is more of them saying, okay, this is the lone guy, the young guy that we're not taking a chance on anymore, and we're going to try to build up Jonathan Kaminga because we do need some size. He's the lone guy on our team now that probably could have helped in that Lakers series, but mentally he just was not ready for that moment. Do you think that after today's move, they're more inclined to keep Jonathan Kuminga or let him go?
I think this kind of serves as kind of like a message. You know what I mean? That it look, you're here. You know what I mean? They do need him. You know what I mean? It's not you just can't be like, ah, whatever. Get rid of this guy. Get rid of this guy. We'll package the first round pick for somebody and then we'll ship him off and blah 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 blah. But
What was that noise?
you know, but it serves would say as a message like, hey, look, this is a wake up call. Like, bro, think about
Yeah,
this too. He's 21 years old, Derek. He's 21 years old.
I know, but
It's
Steve's also not willing to wait. It's been pretty clear. Like after today, it's pretty clear that the message being sent to the young guys on the team is either you buy in or you're
or
not
you're
going to be
gone.
here. Yes. So James Wiseman, not that he didn't buy in, he just wasn't good enough for Steve's standards, and I think that's what happened with Jordan Poole. And I think that today also real showed that they're not willing to grow and develop players if it's going to be to the detriment of them as a team winning championships. Like if you're not ready to play, then you need to get the hell out of here. And Steven always brings this up. I'm sure those guys, the veterans on the team, Steph Curry and Draymond Green, also kind of tell Steve in the front office, this is what we're going to like. This is what we need to do to win. This guy can't help us. Like I go back to when Steph and Draymond told Steve during the 2019 finals, we cannot play DeMarcus Cousins anymore. He is a detriment to us on defense. And Steve listened. And I'm sure that Steph told Steve after a while, I can't have Jordan Poole on this team. He is not listening to Draymond. I trust Draymond. Did I like what he did this last year before the season started? No, I do not. And I scolded him in the media for it. But at a certain point, you got to grow up and you got to get forward and you got to win a championship. And this guy is not letting it go. And he's not willing to learn and grow as a player. And we need to move on. And I don't doubt that Steph Curry wanted Chris Paul there. So that's something that Warriors fans need to take into consideration too. Is that while this move is kind of weird and we're bringing in a guy that we all hated for most of his career, Steph, I think Steph wants him to be here, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how their dynamic is. I think it'll be fine at the end of the day. I wonder about what Chris Paul's dynamic's going to be with Steve Kerr or Draymond Green, but I think at the end of the day it'll be fine.
He's a pro.
Yeah,
He's a professional. That's another thing too. And he's coachable. Like you said earlier, he's gonna buy in 100%. He's coachable. He's coachable. Even at this age, he's coachable. He's gonna listen to, you run down the list of anybody of all the people who he's, been involved, teams that he's been involved with. He's
yeah,
coachable.
yeah.
That's something you
It
can't
wouldn't it,
shake your nose at that.
and wouldn't it be weird if it ends with Chris Paul's career ending with him winning a championship with the Warriors?
Oh my god.
Like, like
Oh
you remember a couple
man.
years ago when the Suns were in the finals and everybody was like, God, I just hope that they win a championship for Chris Paul. My whole reaction was, I don't give a shit, to be honest. Like, again,
Yeah.
this is so weird for me, but like, I find Chris Paul to be kind of annoying. Like with the amount of commercials he's in, the State Farm stuff is not funny to me. And he was always a pest to the
Yeah.
Warriors. So maybe my tune will change on him. I got to root for him now, but yeah, the whole thing is weird. I want to read this before we get out of here, Alex.
Okay.
This
Yeah, yeah.
is I think Steven's not gonna be able to join us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he just got into San Francisco or San Diego, so I don't know if he's gonna have time to join
Damn.
us and hop on. But he texted me this. He wanted to give his thoughts. So Steven texted me this. Here are my three thoughts, or I guess my two thoughts on what the reaction to CP3 going to the Warriors. His number one reaction is holy shit. Number two, I understand why they are doing it for the salary reasons. They probably regret the Jordan Poole contract after 3 years. But Chris Paul is really all they could get for a younger player still with some upside. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel too. Like it was a salary dump to get Jordan Poole off your books, but maybe you could have got more. Maybe you could have got better younger players than just Chris Paul. Now, did the Wizards have any of that to offer? No. So that's tough. But you do get some more bench depth, and that does help. But I do agree with Steven. It seems to me that the Warriors just settled to get a big name and to get a pro of a Hall of Fame player, but you're at the end of the day you're stuck with a 38-year-old point guard, and he has all the accolades you could throw at him except for winning a championship and an MVP. But he's gonna bring something to the team. It's just it's not going to be like it used to be. Like we're not getting the Rockets
Clippers.
or the Clippers Chris Paul. This is the end of the year, or this is the end of his career, Chris Paul. And on the other side, the Wizards are getting a very young player that could be a very good scorer for them. And the Warriors maybe could have got more, but at the
But
end of the
this could
day,
be
it was
something
just to get
too.
rid of the contract.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what was being discussed. I mean, this could have even been thrown into the mix too. Is that you could have thrown Poole and the pick tonight in for something or another player, whatever, and then if the Wizards were to have waived Chris Paul, then just sign him. Then just sign him. Then you're thinking, okay, well, this isn't that bad of a move.
Yeah. Well,
But that's again, it's about money too. It's about money too. It's about money lining up and
I
all
mean,
that.
a lot of it was money. Um, this would have never worked out because the money doesn't add up.
Right.
But in hindsight, you're probably thinking like maybe the Warriors should just traded for Bradley Beal in the first place and had send Jordan Poole and get Bradley Beal, and you know you don't have to have Chris Paul in the trade. But they see the value in Chris Paul. So while we're all questioning it, I'm sure Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob tonight, when they do their draft press conference, will say they probably won't acknowledge the trade yet because it's not official until free agency starts next week. But they probably think it's a win, as they should. Um, and again, like Bradley Beal's not feasible with the amount of money he makes, and then who's the low man on the totem pole when it comes to the starting lineup?
Right.
Does that mean Kevon Looney now is not going to be a true center and he's going to come off the bench? Um, so I don't know. I don't know what would have been the best trade. And Ernie makes a good point on here is that Jordan Poole's value was low. It was with how poorly he played. Maybe it is an even trade. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think there's more questions than answers today. It was just like, damn, just came out of left field. Chris Paul, like so crazy
Still,
and
yeah, it's still
random,
nuts. It's still
but
crazy.
yet it's so Joe Lacob. And I'll end the podcast with this. Do you think this was more of a Mike Dunleavy move or a Joe Lacob move?
I mean, I think it was a Lacob move because of money. I think money. I think that's how I see it too. Is he's not going to want to pay taxes, but I think it's also like it's headlines. It's big name. It's like it's blockbuster. It's blockbuster.
Yeah, I don't know if Bob Myers makes this move. But then again, when
We
the
don't
owner
know.
want well, when the owner wants to make a move, they make a move.
Yeah,
Unless it's James Wiseman, because he didn't want to do that one.
yeah.
Pretty clear and talking to the media. He was like, "Well, I would have done that." But as far as who I think kind of pushed this, I think it was probably Joe Lacob because it's another big name to add to the roster. It's more asses in the seats to come see Chris Paul. Um, and if it is Mike Dunleavy's move, then more power to him. It's a big move to pull off in your first week on the job, so I commend him for that. But it just seems a little weird. It's a weird move. I'm sure it pans out. Does it pan out in a championship? I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, it's getting rid of a really bad, lengthy contract that's going to cost your team a shit ton of money, and you're trading for a older player, but a player that's proven, a player that can add help to your bench. You're really going in on the strength in numbers again, and he cost $30 million this year, and it's expiring. and he'll be gone in 2 years. So, all in all, it's probably a smart move. But for the here and now and the Warriors fans looking at this thing, it's really puzzling. But it probably is a smart move.
Yeah, it's just it's just still crazy to even think about. You know what I mean? To see it when it actually when the ball, they tip the ball up and the season starts. It's gonna be it's just gonna be weird to see.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
oh yeah. Like I don't know where they're going to play opening, day.
Yeah,
I would assume that the Warriors will be part of that TNT doubleheader broadcast on Thursday night, maybe going to Denver when they get their rings. But it's going to be odd to see Chris Paul and he's taking Jordan Poole's numbers, so he'll wear number 3.
yeah.
That's going to be odd to see him in a Warriors jersey. Good God, yeah, crazy day. Anyway, Alex, anything else you want to bring up? I know we talked about your Giants for a little bit.
Um, man. I just gotta try to. I still gotta try to digest all this. You know what I
I
mean? I still
know.
gotta wrap my head
Well,
around
that's
it.
that's why I think I'll speak for myself. I don't think I was entirely ready for this podcast tonight because it's just been a whirlwind today. Like
Yeah.
going into work
Heck, for you,
today.
it's been a whirlwind. Man, you've been
Oh, we
working
talked
through. Yeah.
we talked about it all day, and then I was like,
Yeah.
well, we got to talk about this on the podcast. So didn't have time to write a rundown. So I apologize if I just sound kind of all over the place, which I usually do on this podcast. Stephen will tell you, but it's been a long day. Like it's just Chris Paul got traded to the Warriors. Like holy shit! Like what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, um, that's about it, Alex. Or can I throw some NFL stuff at you?
Yeah. If you want to for a little bit, yeah, we can.
Steven never likes this stuff because he thinks it's too early in the year to be talking football right now.
Oh, it's never too early.
That's what I like to hear.
It's
See,
never too early. You know
there
what
you
I mean?
go.
And heck, he's on vacation, so it doesn't matter.
Where do you think DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook end up?
Oh my gosh.
This has been my obsession for the longest time because there's so many like offseason storylines that are just so annoying.
Yeah.
Like the Aaron Rodgers saga with the Jets, they finally got traded. That Lamar Jackson signed his deal. The one thing that hasn't been settled
Hopping.
is
Yeah.
as Hopkins and Dalvin Cook, and I'll answer you right now, just what I think.
Yeah.
I think that something doesn't happen for quite some time, which is going to drive me crazy, but it is what it is.
That's
The
yeah. That's how it's
the
gonna end up, man.
the NFL, yeah, the Ernie on the chat here is like every week. This will be the last. This will be the last. Like I'm giving Steven a break. He doesn't even know it because he's not on this podcast. But I'm giving Steven a break with this topic until it actually
He's pumping it.
happens. What's up?
You're pumping the brakes.
I am because the reality is that no one's going to sign either of those guys until training camp at this point
Right.
because the facilities are going to close their doors. No deals will be made. Everyone's going on vacation. DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook will not be on new teams until probably July, late July. So this will be the last time I bring it up. So I'm doing a service to you, Stephen. But Alex, just to get your opinion on it, who do you think, or yeah, which team do you think that signs both players?
You know what? I've been seeing somebody said Cook to the Jets. I don't. I think that they have enough at the running back position. I don't know if they really need him.
Yeah,
I mean, Miami makes sense just because they don't have like a lead dog, you know what I mean? Like a lead dog,
between the
out
old
there.
Niners of Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert,
Right.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? Like a guy that you're like, okay, we can give it to Dalvin Cook, and then there's like, all right, we can get play action with him and Tua,
Well,
and yeah.
do you think acquiring him with the Dolphins is similar to the Niners getting Christian McCaffrey, where you're like, huh, that's kind of overkill, but that's a great move.
I mean, I just for them it just gives them another option. I mean I get where you're saying where it's overkill, but it's like interchangeable running backs. It's never a bad thing. And then you say, oh, it would make sense for the Jets too. But it's like I like both. I like Hall and I like who's the other kid there?
Michael Carter.
Yeah, I like both of them. I had Hall on a fantasy team, and then he got
Ooh,
hurt.
yeah.
I liked him. I liked him coming out of out of college.
Yeah,
but yeah, I
where
think
did he go? Well, we'll figure
it
out later.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then as far as DeAndre Hopkins, what do you think?
You know, it's just it's I've only seen two teams that garnered a lot of pub. It's just Titans and the Patriots. It's just
I don't
between
think he
those
goes
two.
to
I don't
I don't
know, but
think he
that
goes
doesn't
to
make
either
any
of those
sense to
teams.
me for him to go to either one of those spots.
Yeah, because he visited with those two teams and they're the
Yeah,
only
that's the
ones to
only reason.
offer. And
Yeah.
I would say I'm still hoping that he goes to the Bills because he puts up this stink about not wanting to be on the Cardinals, and he says, every interview he did, he's like, I like Josh Allen, I like Josh Allen, and he wants to get paid too. Like he wants the Odell money, which it's crazy to me. Like I don't think he's getting that money, and he shouldn't go to a team where he's the number one. Like if he goes to the Patriots, I don't think that's a good move for him to play with Mac Jones and to do the whole thing with Bill O'Brien again. I think
Does it
that
really move the I mean, like, if he goes it doesn't move the needle if he goes there. It doesn't really make them like, it makes them better, but it doesn't,
they're
like, put
they're
them over
still
they're the 3rd best team in that division.
fourth, I would
4th now,
say,
okay, yeah, whoops, man, what am I talking about? Yeah, what am I talking yeah, they're the worst team in the division right now.
with or without him.
Either yeah, exactly.
And then I saw the other day he tweets out saying, "Any team that I join, the wide receiver group, I will make you better." To me, that's him saying, "I want to go to a good team." Like I'm settling for the Titans right now. I'm settling for the Patriots right now, but I really want to go to the Bills. I really want to go to the Chiefs. And I'm sure there's, you know, guys that feel intimidated by him coming over there. Like, is Stephon Diggs really going to dig? I did that not on purpose.
Did you well, no, come on, you know you did just a
No,
little bit.
sometimes things just come out of my
That
mouth, and I'm
just
like, oh,
come on,
that
man.
actually was clever.
That was easy. That was a layup for you.
I know, but like saying it out loud, I was like, that was dumb. Um, is Stephon
That's your check excuse me, that's a check down. That's a check down for you.
exactly? Is Stephon Diggs really going to like DeAndre Hopkins coming over if that means that he's getting less targets or less catches?
No.
Well, it should though. He just may be crazy. Like this whole thing of him, like, oh, I want to be more a part of the offense. I
What's
want
this yeah,
my
this
input in the
beef.
offense. Stephon Diggs, like that's what I'm saying. Like all these wide receivers want to get paid, and Stephon Diggs did get paid, but still he's unhappy. Like go to a good team. What's going on here? So at the end of the day, I do think that he goes to either the Bills or the Chiefs, and I don't think he's going to end up with either the Patriots or the
Yeah.
Titans.
That's just the back that's just like the that's
Exactly.
plan C and D.
Yeah. And I know I saw that Dalvin Cook went on Adam Schefter's podcast, and Dalvin Cook's actually making the rounds, doing a lot of media lately. But he said that he would love to team up with DeAndre Hopkins. That's not happening. I don't think at any point. This is why this is so weird: is having these players as high profile as them being free agents this time of year, and with teams just figuring like pretty much having their salary cap set up for the upcoming season. No
They don't
one's
have
gonna do.
room.
I mean, some teams do. Like I think the Cowboys can make it work, or even the Jets. But that no one's doing that at this
No.
point. Like
Come on.
some teams still got to sign back their
They're
or
rookies,
sign
right?
their rookies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I doubt that happens. And there you go. To the Ernies and to Steven out there, that's the last time I'm bringing up Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins until they sign. I promise you. I'm done. Okay?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if
Yeah.
that happens.
All right. On that note, me and Steven will be back next week. We got a lot of early Giants games. They're going to Toronto and New York, so I'll be able to jump on a little earlier next week. It's probably Tuesday next week. We'll do something. Alex, thank you so much for jumping on today. It was short notice. I wasn't planning on doing a podcast today. It was just kind of spur of the moment. Once we saw the Chris Paul news, I was like, we got to talk about this. And Steven was going to San Diego. How convenient. Um, but thank you for hitting me, or thank you for responding to my text and jumping on and talking about this today.
Yeah, not a problem, man. I mean, it's just still crazy. I mean, it's like it's about to be 9 o'clock right now, and it's still crazy.
Dude, I am I'm spent on this topic because I've talked about it nonstop for hours. So
Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Ring the
I'm
bell. This is it.
I'm ringing the bell. Ernie's, thanks as always, gentlemen. Thank you, Steven. Sorry, Alex. Alex. See, I'm so fucking tired. It's been a long day.
Game over. Game over, man.
Chris Paul's on the Warriors. What the fuck's going on?
I don't know.
Alex, make sense of it. Say what we always say on this thing.
Oh, that's just your opinion, man. Yeah. Yeah. Dig it. Yeah.
Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. Dig it.